Well, welcome back. As you know, we've been talking about the power of the DMP manuscript to tell the story of how you have transformed care for patients and populations. And essentially, a DMP focused project is bridging this gap between what we know from scientific evidence and research and what we actually do in practice. And so the DNP project is what is done to fill that gap. So as you're constructing your manuscript, keeping in mind that you are filling this critical gap in knowledge and practice through your DNP project is the foundation on which your entire manuscript is constructed. And so we know from our previous looks at the structure of a standard introduction, methods, results, discussion manuscript, the IMRD method, that you're filling the gap. You're helping the reader understand how you filled the gap between what is known currently and what is not known. And as you can see, just like in ancient Greek literature, this narrative hook, the part that grabs your attention and pulls you into the story, is critical to the entire story development. Just like in the Three Little Pigs, that narrative hook is where mom tells the pigs they have to go out on their own into the big wide world and make homes for themselves. That's the narrative hook that pulls you in. And in your work, the hook that's going to pull your reader in is your gap statement, your problem statement. What is the issue at hand that your scholarship and your inquiry is going to help address? So as you think about that gap, that problem statement as the crux on which your entire project hangs, it's what drives your method, what drives your analysis, the basis of your results, and then your discussion where you say, so what? And it's the basis for crafting a better future state. Everything hangs on that problem statement. And so, as Francis Bacon's quote is saying, a prudent question is one half of wisdom. So asking that question well, framing the problem well, is half of the solution in some ways. So the defining precisely the problem and the issue that you're going to be addressing is critical. That problem statement guides your literature review, guides the way that you frame the literature around what is known, because you're funneling that literature review in the introduction around what is known and what is not known for the problem you identify. And then that is going to drive the methods you use to address the problem. It's going to drive how you frame the discussion of the meaning of your results. So defining the problem well is mission critical. There's a template, an Emory template, to help you frame your problem statement. Even if you framed a problem statement a term ago or a year ago, I'd encourage you to pull out this template and think about your problem statement. Does it need to be refined or revised based on this stage of your product development? You might be in the final stages of writing your manuscript, but the work that you did with your project is actually somewhat different or more focused or more nuanced compared to your original problem statement. So there's great value in spending time to craft that powerful one-sentence problem statement that talks about an issue in terms of who, what, where, and when. It's one sentence that powerfully, tersely, succinctly summarizes the practice problem or issue that you're addressing. And as you can see in the template, the who, what, where, and when, those can be broadly envisioned. The who could be who's directly impacted. It could be who defines the problem, who the stakeholders are, who can influence it. There are lots of different ways of framing a problem statement. The same issue could be framed with multiple problem statements. So the more refined and crafted this is, the better able you're going to be able to write your DNP manuscript. And so in this particular example from the template, the topic is hospital pneumonia care. And you can see there's an example of a weak problem statement, something that's not specific or precise, like excess readmissions for community-acquired pneumonia at Medicare hospitals were similar regardless of the level of discharge planning. So you kind of have a sense of some issues. You've got readmissions, you've got excess readmissions, you've got Medicare hospitals, and something about the level of discharge planning. There's a lot of precision that's missing from that statement. So you could see a stronger statement would define more precisely who, what, where, and when. So if you take those who, what, where, and when and craft a statement, it might be something like hospitals that in the U.S. that implement discharge process interventions, including teaching, care plan creation, care plan transmission. So those are metrics that are measured across U.S. hospitals. So using those three indices, they had comparable excess 30-day community-acquired pneumonia readmission ratios in 2014 compared to hospitals that did not implement these processes. So this is adapted from your colleagues Viscone and Prado in 2014. But you can see this statement is much stronger. It's not dealing with generalities, it's dealing with very specific issues like discharge teaching, care plan creation. It's talking about excess readmission ratios, hospitals in the US. So that's one example. There are others in the template, and a problem statement is not the only way you could frame an issue. You could also use a PICO question, which is the patient or population intervention, comparison group outcome, and timing. And so in an example of HIV care, you define the patient or population, what is going to be done, what it's compared to, the outcome that's measured, and the timing. So you can read through the examples in the template to see how to use precise language, and whether or not you use a PICO statement or a problem statement is less important than using something that's precise and clear.